I didn't want to make this, but I have to. Because I've gone so far into this week without ranting. So, here we are. Long video, as well as going to be available on a podcast. Sacred Eagle podcast. What's going on? The Carson Wentz situation. I've made multiple videos about certain people, the Jason Peters situation, the Zach Ertz situation, the Carson Wentz situation is now joining into the series, I guess. Look, I for one never wanted to make a video like this. I never wanted to feel this way towards Carson Wentz because I fell in love with the way that he played in 2016 as a rookie. I fell in love with the way that he played and set us up to be NFC division champs in 2017 prior to the ACL injury. But now, ever since, I haven't quite felt the same, and a lot of people haven't. And I've fought it because I was blinded by what happened in 2017. I was blinded by the fact that he was only a 3-year quarterback, of course. But I don't think any starting quarterback getting paid the amount of money that Carson Wentz is getting paid to play right now at a specific level has gone through what he has gone through. And I'm going to play two sides of this story. Because, trust me, I was on one side of this whole Carson Wentz situation, and now I'm on the other side of it. And I'll explain what that means in a bit, because I got some stats both on paper and, of course, the full stats on my laptop here. To fully get into the whole, to get a full POV of what's going on. And you guys know me. You guys know that I'm not one to dig too deeply into the past and compare them to now, or use stats as a way of specifically saying that this guy is regressing or this guy is not as good as the stats say he is, or vice versa. I've never been somebody to do that. But when the stats correlate to what we're seeing unfold before our very eyes, it's kind of hard not to take that in and think, wow, you know what I mean? So first and foremost, let's talk about the 2017 year, the MVP year, the Super Bowl year. We're going to run down records, games played, total games played, completion percentage, touchdowns to interceptions, no fumbles. We all know that he's led the league in fumbles since he came in 2016. That's nothing to continue to speak about, even though it is a big issue. It's not like he's fumbling on a consistent basis. It's mostly like a game or two every now and then where he just struggles with it. Washington, for an example, last week not so much. And then you got pass rating, QBR, all the 9 yards. 2017, Carson Wentz had a record of 11-2 in the games that he started, including the Rams game that he got hurt in. Obviously, we know that. He played 13 games, went 11-2, had a completion percentage of 60.2, which not bad, not great, but pretty good for a year or two, especially with what he did. Touchdowns, 33. That's an all-time record in Eagles history. Interceptions, only 7. And then his passer rating was really good. It was at a what? Trying to see where it was here. I lost it. 101.9. That was his passer rating. His QBR wasn't that great. It was a 77.2. That's a scale of 0 to 100 right there. Not bad, but not great either. And yeah, he took 28 sacks as well. So that was a year where the entire team was playing at a level that we hadn't seen here in Philadelphia in a long time. And it all started with him. We can't deny that. Fast forward a year. It's 2018. He's recovering from the ACL injury. He comes in on week 3. His record through 11 games played was 5-6. His completion percentage was 69.6, so that went up from his 2017 campaign, which is very interesting, considering everything else. Touchdowns, went down to 21. Interceptions stayed the same at 7. His passer rating went up a little bit as well to 102.2. But his QBR took a huge dip at 62.6. That's very alarming right then and there. That's something that people take notice of, especially people who really look at the QBR statistic. That's a very important statistic to many people. But that right there, that's alarming enough right there. And 2018 was a year where he was starting to try and get back into the 2017 groove, doing a little bit too much, took way too many hits. He got sacked 31 times, and we all know he had a back injury that he tried playing through before ultimately getting seated after the New Orleans Saints game, or after the Dallas Cowboys, the sweeping that the Dallas Cowboys, losing both games to them. But we all know what happened after that, the playoff win. And of course, I haven't mentioned Nick Foles yet for a reason. Just give me a second on that. 2019, last year, his record was 9-7. He played all 16 games. We know that. His completion percentage went down to a 63.9. So when it was initially in 2017 at a 60.2, went up 69.6, and went back down to 63.9. So it's gone from not so great to pretty good to back down to being average. His touchdowns went up a little bit from the previous year to 27, had the same 7 interceptions. His passer rating dipped tremendously to a 93.1, but that's not that bad. That's pretty good. And then, not pretty good. That is really good. And then his QBR is what took a little bit of it went up a little bit, but it's still not the greatest, 64.8. And now, compare that to 2020. Granted, this is only 2 games in, but even 2 games into all 3 of these years, we didn't see Carson Wentz struggle the way we saw him struggle now. So it's fair for me and for many people to look at these stats and to compare them to where he was at in 2016, in 2017, in 2018, 2019, those 4 years where he was playing better then than now. And we look at it, record so far, 0-2. His completion percentage is a 58.8. That is terrible. 2 touchdowns to 4 interceptions plus the fumble, obviously. Passer rating is at a 60. What is that? His passer rating is at a 64.4. And his QBR, so that right now, it's about the same as 2019, which, okay, he's completing passes, whatever. But his QBR is at a 23.2. That's the biggest hit that you can see right there. 23.2 from being consistently within at least the 60s, the mid to low 60s, straight to 23.2. I could bet you my bottom dollar right now, I'll look up somebody like Patrick Mahomes and his stats, and let's see where his QBR is. Let's see if I can find it for you guys real quick. You go to Pro Football Focus, look at his QBR as of right now. His QBR here, his QBR is an 87.3. Mind you, that is the highest that it's ever been as of right now. Through 2 weeks, of course. That's his QBR. You can go to somebody, I don't know, let's try Tom Brady through 2 weeks. And again, I know this is through 2 weeks, but it's fair to compare considering how horribly he's been playing in my eyes. Let's see, Tom Brady through 2 weeks, QBR, even as bad as it is, it's at a 43.7. That's nearly double what Carson Wentz is at right now. And he's been playing terribly. He has 3 turnovers compared to Carson's 5. That's not good. Both of them not good. And think about that. And now what I want to do is also compare Carson's stats to 2016. His rookie season. The season that we always throw away. But I feel that it's not a bad idea to compare 2016 to now because of the way that Carson is playing. Carson, in my eyes, is playing like a rookie. Flat out, honestly, like a rookie. With the way that his decision-making is, he's not poised in the pocket. He looks uncomfortable. Footwork is all over the place. Mechanics are bad, making terrible decisions, bad reads. In 2016, we know it wasn't his greatest season, but his QBR, and I don't know I don't know about through 2 games, but I do remember his rookie season was the best that he's ever started out. He started out 3-0. So that gives me an idea that he played very good in those first 3 games. His QBR to end the season was at a 49.4. That's the worst it's ever been. At this pace, Carson is about to break that low record of 49.4 by a mile if he keeps playing the way he's playing. And again, I will reiterate that I understand that it's 2 weeks into the season. But your guy, Carson Wentz, should not be playing like this, especially after the contract extension he got, after the season that he had last year, dealing with all the injuries to the outside, to the running backs, even a couple offensive linemen, and losing Zach Ertz in the final couple of games where you need as much help as you can get. Elevating your team from 5-7, losing a crapshoot to the Dolphins, to 9-7, a playoff appearance, a division championship, when you look like you were dead in the water. Something we saw Nick Foles do in 2018, mind you. That brings me to Nick Foles. There could be many reasons why Carson Wentz is playing the way he's playing, and it could be just himself trying to do too much, which for all we know that's what it seems like, but it also could be the scheme that we're running. The most success that we've seen from Doug Peterson when it matters the most, not just in regular season games, because in regular season games, specifically in 2017, we saw a lot of great coming from the deep ball, coming from play actions, coming from a lot of different variety of play calling and decision making from the head coaching spot. We saw all of that with Carson, dumbed down for what Nick Foles did in his couple of games in 2017, and we saw something we never saw before in that offense, and that was consistency. We barely saw them punt ever, and they won a championship doing what Nick Foles did best and what the offense looked like they did best. And you want to know what that was? Run-pass options. Now, I mean, I know that's what Nick Foles was the best at because of, Chip Kelly and that offense that he worked in, that he had the most success in 2013 and a little bit in 2014. But the Eagles' offense, ever since 2016, under Doug Peterson, regardless of the QB, under Doug Peterson himself, I've seen the most success coming from that style of play. Sorry about that motorcycle, by the way. That style of play is what got the Eagles a championship. That style of play is what got them back into the postseason with a victory the following season despite a multitude of injuries. So many injuries, like some of the biggest injuries that you can have a nightmare about. And that's what won him those 4 playoff games before that first loss against the New Orleans Saints in the divisional round in early 2019. Fast forward to 2019, and the offense is so much different, but then you get a little bit of a throwback with Carson Wentz extending plays, but not just extending plays, but mirroring what he did in 2017, making the proper reads, doing what needed to be done in order to keep the drive going and, limit turnovers. 2020 Carson Wentz was not so far, not at all, what we saw in 2019 during that 4-game skid where they went 4-0 and made it to the playoffs. Not only that, but he's just not what he was in 2017. And this team isn't what it was in 2017 either. And trying to do the things that we did back then, even with the speed that we have, the tight ends that we have, the offensive line that is starting to find its groove, especially after shutting out Aaron Donald to only 1 sack and 1 QB hit. I mean, that's amazing, right? You would think that we would have won that game, but we didn't. And it wasn't because of the offensive line. It was because of our quarterback's terrible play, terrible decision making, and the whole thing that I'm ending up with in my mind is that not only is Carson Wentz regressing, but he is showing not that he has an ego or anything, not something along those lines, but the fact that he simply does not care enough or doesn't have the mentality to acknowledge the mistakes that he's made, at least. And when I say that, I mean acknowledge it and learn from it. Because you can say all you want. You can say all you want about, we got to clean up the turnovers. No, you got to clean up the turnovers. Oh, well, there are a couple plays that I try to thread the needle and it didn't work out. I'm going to keep playing the game that I'm playing. That means you're going to keep turning the ball over. That's what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing from Carson Wentz during press conferences is that he's not changing his style of play, that he needs to be better, but to be better is to play his game better, not change things up, not be smarter, but be better at what he's doing that's failing, that's not working. And that's the sign of a quarterback that, in my mind, doesn't have good leadership capabilities, is not very liked among the locker room. I mean, all the rumors that you've heard, maybe they weren't false after all. They could be, but who are we to say that they are or they aren't? Because there's no true source that's saying, yeah, they're true or yeah, they're false. The coach doesn't say anything about it. When he gets addressed about it, he doesn't try to talk about it. He tries to push that aside like, yeah, I don't know where you hear that, but it's whatever. That's not a definitive enough answer, because what do you think the coach is going to do? He's going to defend his quarterback. Of course he's going to try to. He's going to try and cling to the most hope that he possibly can have on Carson Wentz, righting the ship and getting back to what he used to be doing, to being better than what he is right now. And today in his press conference, he was asked the question, these easy throws, like the throws into the flat or screen passes, short passes, or out routes to the sidelines. Those are layups. Those are passes that Carson Wentz has made and should be making consistently. Why isn't he? And you know what Doug Peterson said in response? Well, have you ever played quarterback in the National Football League? They're not layups. Like, really? They're not layups. Because I'm seeing a 43-year-old Tom Brady doing them with ease. I'm seeing players like Patrick Mahomes doing them without even having to look. I'm seeing Lamar Jackson being able to flick it around his freaking back, for Christ's sake. Doing crazy stuff. And Carson Wentz can't simply just toss it 5 yards in front of him for a wide receiver screen. That if you hit Deshaun Jackson on the numbers rather than throw to the right side of his ankles, then that could be a touchdown, considering they have blockers in front of him ready to set him up for a big game. Like, I don't get it. I truly don't get it. It's tough to defend somebody who doesn't seem to want to change and doesn't seem to want to fix himself in order to succeed. He wants to keep playing his game, the game that he can get away with when he was at North Dakota State. And another thing about that, they've been talking about on Get Up, Greeny destroyed him, calling him the worst quarterback in the NFL as of right now. And you know what Woody said in response to that question, that topic? That Carson Wentz is playing hero ball, that he's trying way too hard, that, as I said earlier on in this session, that he's trying to recapture what happened in 2017 by looking for none other than the big play all the time. And he said it himself that he's not going to change his ways, that he wants to remain aggressive, that he wants to keep playing the way that he plays, which means the way that he played in North Dakota State in college is how he wants to keep playing now. It worked for one season, and then after that, your body isn't the same due to injuries. The team isn't the same because players are not here. The same players like Torrey Smith, Nelson Aguilar, they aren't here. Alshon Jeffrey, he's injured and he can't run routes, jump up and make plays that he used to because he's too banged up to do them. What did Doug Peterson do in response to that in 2017 and 2018? RPOs, up-tempo, quicker, faster plays to get the defense off edge, or on edge rather, and get them on their toes, get them antsy, and get them tired. That's the adjustment that was made. And when did those adjustments occur? When Nick Foles was behind center, a guy who is a soft-spoken leader who knows what he has to do and will make the sacrifice to do that regardless of what it does to his performance, to his game. If he can do it, he'll do it. RPOs, flea flickers, bootlegs, you name it. As long as he's not running up the field for 15 yards, because we know he can't do that, he'll do it. As long as he's got a running back, an offensive line, and one receiver that he trusts. And in 2017 and 2018, that was Alshon Jeffrey. That was Zach Ertz. That was everybody who rallied up behind him and felt, yes, we can play for this guy. He knows what's up. He can play and make those adjustments that we need our quarterback to do. Somebody else with the number 11 doesn't want to do that. That's what I'm taking from all of this. That's what I'm seeing from everything here. And when people like Max Kellerman last year were bashing on Carson because he thought that him going through his progressions and making simple reads, that his decision making, that he was shot and that he was regressing before any of us could really notice it, he was right. I thought he was crazy and I thought he was ridiculous at that time among everybody else in the world. And now look what's happening. You're seeing it unfold on such a larger scale. A year where Carson Wentz just got a contract extension. A year where Carson Wentz and the Eagles are projected to at least be 10 wins, be a 10-win team, make the playoffs, potentially win the division now that the Cowboys have a loaded offense. There's going to be a little bit of a struggle, but people were expecting him to do this. People were expecting him to rise up to the occasion, to be able to lead this team into the playoffs and prove himself in the playoffs. But he's self-destructing at the moment. And when people bring up the name Jalen Hurts and the idea of him starting, and some people, I respect people's opinions. I really do. Trust me, I respect, and I watch a lot of people on this platform, from EDP to Desert Eagle to RB to everybody, to E-Rock, you name it. I watch a bunch of these people to hear their input on these certain things. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of Joey Shakes. Shout out to him. Desert Eagle, shout out to him. Those two guys say the same thing. We don't want to see Jalen Hurts just yet. We don't want to give up on Carson Wentz just yet. But there comes a point where you have to ask yourself, how much more of this can you take? And of course, the past is the past. All these stats that I'm reading to you, they were the past. They're null and void at this point. But when the stats, like I said, line up perfectly with what is being said about the quarterback, about the player, about the regression, the obvious struggles that he has been having, that he hasn't been able to rectify, that he hasn't been able to change course, to fix himself. How much more are you willing to take as an Eagles fan before you say to yourself, maybe I'd like to see Jalen Hurts run an offense that Doug Peterson can call? RPOs, run pass options, just creative plays with a guy that can do it all behind center. He can make a man miss, break a tackle, take a hit, and throw the goddamn ball and be smart with the goddamn ball. I'm looking at all the rookies that are playing, all the young guys that are playing. Lately, some of the best players that I've seen play, from Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, to the latest and greatest in Los Angeles, Justin Herbert, playing some of the best football at QB I've seen in a while, along with the veterans that are getting it done, like Aaron Rodgers, and even Tom Brady with his rebound game this past weekend against the Panthers. I'm seeing these guys doing things that I look at my QB and I think, man, I wish he was playing like that. I wish he was doing that. He's not, and he hasn't been for a while. We're blinded by a couple of things. The 2017 season and the way that he rallied up, carried the 2019 Eagles on his back to a playoff game that he didn't even play in. And I, for one, am starting to lean towards wanting to see a change. I know that the Eagles are financially invested in Carson Wentz, but you cannot tell me that we drafted Jalen Hurts just to be our Taysom Hill to our Drew Brees. The Taysom Hill to Drew Brees. Jalen Hurts to Carson Wentz. There is no way in my mind that that's the case. Taysom Hill, from what I saw against the Raiders on Monday nights, he didn't even play that much. I don't even think he played a snap behind center or on the offense. I might be wrong. I didn't catch the full game, but I'm just saying. That team is devoted to Drew Brees, and when he's struggling, they stick with him. Of course, that's a good thing, and Drew Brees is much different to Carson Wentz. I think anybody with a brain would rather stick to a struggling Drew Brees than anybody else. But with a guy that isn't proven, in my opinion, a guy going into his 5th season where we've seen his ups, he's had a lot of good ups, a lot of great moments, and then his downs, a lot of bad moments, a lot of moments that make you question a lot of things, make you question his accuracy, his health, his mentality, his his mechanics, you name it. I'm looking at Carson Wentz the past couple of years, ever since his injury, and I'm thinking, this guy isn't the same. What's wrong, and why hasn't anybody been able to fix what is wrong? Now, 2018 wasn't that bad, in my opinion. 2018, it was a matter of the injuries around him that led to his back injury and wanting to force himself into a situation where he shouldn't have been in due to that injury. 2019 is more of the same thing, but even so, we were expecting a lot of good from him in 2019. And even when the players were healthy, like Alshon and Nelson Aguilar, I didn't see much of an improvement from him. I really didn't. The only time we saw the improvement was when he had bench warmers and he was playing the crappy NFC least of 2019. And as special as that 4 games stretch was, you have to admit, Week 14 was against the New York Giants, and they almost beat us in overtime. Week 15 was against the Dallas Cowboys, and we shut them out, which was great. It was wonderful. Or was it again? No, it was against Washington. It was against Washington, and they almost beat us, which was it was a very hectic game. Carson made some good throws, made some bad throws, and made some bad decisions, like fumbling the football late in the game when you're down a couple of scores. And then the Dallas Cowboy game, no mistakes were made, not that many points were made, but the defense stepped up, shut down the Cowboys. It was good. And then, of course, the Giants game. They put up a fight, but eventually players like Boston Scott and Dallas Goedert managed to solidify the game for us. And we did a lot of good things, like moving Carson Wentz around. And if we want to see Carson Wentz succeed again, we got to do what he does best. We can't force him to be in the pocket all the time. And if that's the way we're going to play, then you might as well call the season over, because he is not a pocket quarterback. He is far from a pocket quarterback, and forcing him to be in the pocket for a majority of his snaps is not going to help him do any better than what he's doing right now. And if that's what we're going to keep seeing, then I don't know. Maybe the coaches should be reevaluated. But even in the pocket, the last game against the Rams, he had the cleanest pockets of all time. He didn't get sacked once. He barely got hit. He didn't get hit 5 times that game. And he threw 2 picks and made some of the worst throws that I've seen him throw in a long time. And I look back to the Bengals. Moving forward against the Bengals, the last time Carson Wentz played them was in 2016. And he threw 36 completions out of 60 pass attempts for 308 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions, and a 32-14 demolishing of the Philadelphia Eagles. Granted, those two teams were very different, of course, yes. But that's Carson Wentz's history against a team that we haven't beaten in 20 years. Joe Burrow is coming to town, and a rookie like him going up against a guy like Wentz, you would think Wentz should have the edge. But after the last 2 weeks, I don't know anymore. Now, you hear my full argument, my full conflicted argument during these 30 minutes of me ranting like this. What I'm trying to say, from going to the stats to talking about mechanics and Carson Wentz and his own issues, to maybe the coaches being a bigger part of his own struggles, is to fix what's wrong. Those coaches need to help change Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz needs to be open to it, yes, but they also need to work towards his strengths and not just keep him in the pocket. If the coaches aren't able to do that, or if Carson Wentz isn't open to doing that, open into changing into what will work better, then either you have to look at the coaches and say goodbye to them, goodbye to some of them, make something work for Carson, or you might have to think about, did we spend too much too early for our quarterback Carson Wentz? Is somebody else on the roster who is more flexible and more open to doing more things and ready to learn, is he more suited to lead this offense with this coaching staff? That's what I'm getting at. It's a conflicting argument, but that's my opinion. That's my truth. I'm on the fence. I'm leaning towards Jalen Hurts, but that's my take on this all. Let me know what your take is, and thank you for tuning in to the Sacred Eagle Cast. My rant today is over.